Emily Carter was not supposed to be there that night. The glittering lights of the city stretched endlessly beneath the tall glass windows of Daniel Carter's luxury penthouse. The apartment was quiet from the outside, just as it always was when Daniel's work late. Emily stood outside the door holding a small silver gift bag in her hands. Inside it was a simple watch. She was chosen carefully weeks ago. That night was supposed to be special. It was their anniversary. Daniel Carter was one of the youngest tech billionaires in the city, constantly surrounded by business meetings, investors, and endless travel. Lately, he had been distant, busy, always distracted, so Emily had decided to surprise him. She had imagined the moment all day, Daniel opening the door, smiling in surprise, maybe even laughing as he pulled her into a hug. But as she stepped closer to the penthouse door, something strange caught her attention. The door wasn't fully closed, it was slightly open. Emily frowned softly. Daniel was always careful about security. Then she heard it laughter, a woman's laughter. It was soft, playful, unfamiliar. Emily's fingers tightened around the gift bag as a quiet feeling of unease moved through her chest. Slowly she pushed the door open. The sight inside froze her where she stood, near the living room window under the warm glow of chandelier. Daniel stood with a young woman wrapped in her arms. The woman was beautiful, confident, dressed in an elegant red dress. Her hand rested comfortably on Daniel's chest as he leaned down and kissed her. For a brief second, the world seemed to stop. Then Daniel noticed the movement at the door. His head turned. The color drained from his face. Emily. The woman stepped back quickly, surprised, her eyes moving between them. Silence filled the entire penthouse. Anyone else might have screamed. Anyone else might have cried. But Emily Carter simply stood there, calm and still. Her expressions didn't break. Instead, she slowly set the small silver gift bag down on the nearby table. Then she looked directly at Daniel and spoke in a quiet, steady voice. "I hope," she said calmly, "she's worth everything you are about to lose." Daniel blinked, confused, but her strange reaction. Before either of them could say any word, Emily turned around and walked out of the penthouse without looking back. The door closed softly behind her, and somehow that calm exit felt far more terrifying than any anger confrontation could have been. Daniel Carter stood in his penthouse the morning after Emily walked out, staring at the city below with a mixture of irritation and confidence. To him, the situation was simple. Emily would come back, she always had. For years, Daniel had been used to controlling everything around him, his company, his employees, the media, and even the direction of conversations in a room full of powerful investors. Being one of the most successful tech billionaires in the city had given him a certain kind of arrogance. People needed him, including Emily. Across the room, Sophia sat comfortably on the white leather couch. Scrolling through her phone, the young woman looked completely relaxed, as if nothing unusual had happened the night before. "She'll be back," Daniel said with a small smirk. "She just needed her dramatic exit." Sophia laughed softly. "Honestly, Daniel," she said, setting her phone down, "I don't understand why you stayed married to her for so long. She was ordinary." Daniel didn't respond immediately, but he didn't disagree either. Within days, Daniel made his next move. He filed for divorce. The news spread quickly. When a billionaire's marriage collapses, it never stays private for long. Business blogs, celebrity gossips sites, and financial media all picked up the story. Rumors filled the internet. Some claimed Emily had been a quiet, dependent wife who couldn't handle Daniel's powerful lifestyle. Others suggested Daniel had simply grown tired of the marriage. But one thing surprised everyone: Emily Carter disappeared. No interviews, no public statements, no post on social media. She simply vanished from public view. To the outside world, it looked like a woman hiding from heartbreak. Daniel believed the same thing. In his mind, the story was already over. He had money, power, influence, and control. Emily had nothing, or at least that's what he believed. Because while the world assumed Emily Carter was quietly mourning the end of her marriage, she was actually working behind closed doors, carefully preparing something that Daniel Carter would never see coming. While the media continued separating rumors about Emily Carter's disappearance, the truth was very different. Emily had not vanished, she had simply stepped out of the spotlight. Inside a quiet private office the, in downtown Chicago, Emily sat across a large conference table surrounded by lawyers, financial advisors, and two senior investors. Papers were spread neatly in front of her as she listened carefully to every detail. For the first time in years, Emily Carter was returning to the world she had once belonged to. Long before she married Daniel, Emily had grown up in a powerful business family. Her father had built a respected investment company, and from a young age, Emily had learned how the world of finance truly worked. But when she fell in love with Daniel, she chose a different path. She stepped away from her family's spotlight and lived a quieter life beside him. She supported his growing tech empire, attended events when necessary, and allowed him to take center stage. Daniel had always believed he built everything alone. But what he never realized was that Emily had never stopped thinking like an investor. Over the years, she had quietly placed some investments into promising startups. Some succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Those small investments slowly grew into millions, then tens of millions, and eventually something far more powerful. Though private firms and silent partnership, Emily had gradually purchased large shares of Daniel's own company, shares Daniel had never bothered to track closely. Now those shares gave her influence, real influence, across the table. One of the lawyers slid a file toward her. These documents confirmed several risky deals Daniel approved over the last 2 years. He said some of these partnerships could seriously concern the board. Emily opened the file and calmly reviewed the pages. Reckless spendings, questionable investors, financial decisions met with more ego than caution. Everything she needed was there. Her reaction the night she caught Daniel with Sophia had not been weakness. It had been passion, strategy. Emily closed the file and looked around the room. There's only one moment that matters, she said quietly. Her eyes were steady. Daniel's global business conference next week. Around the world, millions of people would be watching that event live, and Emily Carter intended to make sure they witnessed something Daniel Carter would never forget. The grand conference hall in New York was filled with excitement. Hundreds of journalists, investors, and business leaders sat under bright lights as cameras streamed the event live across the world. On the giant screen behind the stage was the logo of Carter Technologies, one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world. At the center of it all stood Daniel Carter, confident, polished, completely in control. Today, Daniels announced proudly into the microphone. We began the biggest expansion in our company's history. Applause filled the hall. Millions of viewers watched online as Daniel explained his plans for global growth, new partnerships, and billion-dollar investments. Then suddenly, the large doors at the back of the hall opened. A quiet wave of whispers spread across the audience. Emily Carter walked in. She moved calmly through the crowd, dressed in simple but elegant black suit. Cameras quietly turned toward her as reporters recognized the woman who had disappeared weeks earlier. The entire room slowly fell silent. Daniel saw her. For a brief second, irritation flashed across his face, but he quickly forced a confident smile. Emily, he said lightly into the microphone, I didn't expect to see you here. Emily stopped near the front of the stage. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and steady. I'm not there as your wife, Daniel, he said. I'm here as a shareholder. The room grew even quieter. Several board members exchanged confused looks. Emily continued. Over the past few years, through private investments and legal acquisitions, I have become the largest individual shareholder of Carter Technologies. Gasped, separate across the audience. Daniel's confident smile disappeared. Emily handed a folder to one of the board members standing nearby. Those documents include evidence of several reckless financial decisions and questionable partnerships approved by Mr. Carter. She said calmly. The board members quickly began flipping through the pages. Within seconds, their expressions changed. Questions began flying across the stage. Investors started the whispering nervously. Phones lit up as journalists rushed to report the breaking news. Across social media, clips of the confrontation exploded online. Millions of people watched in shock as Daniel Carter, the powerful billionaire who believed he controlled everything, slowly realized she had just lost control of it all. The aftermath of the conference was immediate and brutal. Within hours, the board of Carter Technologies held an emergency meeting. The documents Emily had presented raised serious concerns about Daniel's leadership and financial decisions. By the end of the night, the decision was made. Daniel Carter was officially removed as CEO of the company he once proudly called his empire. The news spread across every major business network and social media platform. Headlines appeared everywhere. Tech billionaire removed as CEO after public scandal. Wife's stunning reveal destroys Daniel Carter's reputation. Investors began pulling back. Business partners started distancing themselves. The man who once controlled boardrooms and billion-dollar deals suddenly found himself standing alone. And Sophia, she disappeared almost as quickly as she had appeared. The moment the scandal exploded across the internet, she quietly vanished from Daniel's life. The glamorous photos and confident smiles were gone. No interviews, no statements, nothing. Meanwhile, Emily Carter remained calm through it all. After the conference, she walked out of the building while dozens of reporters rushed toward her, microphones raised and cameras flashing. Emily, one reporter called out, was this all planned as revenge? Another shouted, do you want to destroy your husband's career? Emily paused for a moment. She looked at the crowd of reporters, her expressions calm and thoughtful. Then she spoke in a clear, steady voice. Respect in a marriage, she said, is worth more than billions. Those simple words quickly spread across the world. But Emily's story didn't end with Daniel's downfall. Months later, she announced the launch of a new global foundation dedicated to supporting women entrepreneurs. The program provided funding, mentorship, and opportunities for women who wanted to build their own businesses. Instead of focusing on revenge, Emily chose to build something meaningful. Her quiet strength, intelligence, and patience had turned one painful moment into a powerful new beginning. And in the end, the world learned something important. Sometimes the strongest response to arrogance isn't anger or revenge. Sometimes it's simply quiet strength and the courage to rise higher than those who underestimated you.